all happened in less than a day. Alicante, a sunny coastal paradise on Spain's Mediterranean shore, famous for its beaches and festivals, was swallowed by a storm that no one saw coming. It started with a light drizzle, nothing unusual, but within hours that drizzle turned into a downpour, and then complete chaos. By the afternoon, the skies opened up. Sheets of rain pounded the streets so hard that the drains couldn't keep up. Sidewalks vanished. Cars drifted down the roads like toy boats. The usual sound of traffic and laughter was gone, replaced by the deafening roar of rushing water. People stood helpless as entire neighborhoods turned into rivers. Stores burst open under the pressure. Apartment buildings filled up like tanks. Everywhere you looked, streets, parks, homes, it was all underwater. Social media exploded with shocking videos, cars spinning in intersections, waves of muddy water flooding the famous Esplanada promenade, people screaming for help from rooftops. In just one afternoon, Alicante went from celebration to survival. October 9th, Valencian Community Day, was supposed to be a time for parades, music, and joy, but instead, it became a nightmare the city will remember forever. By nightfall, Alicante wasn't just a city by the sea anymore, it had become a city swallowed by the sea. By sunrise, the first drops began to fall across the hills near Alicante. By mid-morning, the sky turned completely dark, like night had arrived early. Within just 12 hours, more than 7 inches of rain had fallen. That's an entire month's worth of rainfall in half a day. Roads became rivers. Sewers overflowed, shooting water back into the streets. Dry riverbeds, silent for years, exploded into violent torrents tearing through the city's edges. The sound of the rain was deafening. It hammered rooftops, echoed off the walls, and flooded underground garages within minutes. In low-lying neighborhoods, families could only watch as the water kept rising, first over sidewalks, then doorsteps, then straight through their living rooms. By early afternoon, the storm's strength became undeniable. Winds roared past 60 miles an hour, bending palm trees like twigs. Lightning flashed across the sky in blinding bursts, followed by thunder so loud it rattled windows out of their frames. Phones buzzed with emergency alerts. Extreme rainfall. Stay indoors. Avoid travel. But for thousands already trapped by the floodwaters, it was too late. Cameras captured the chaos in real time. Cars spinning in circles, dumpsters floating like boats, and waves of muddy water crashing through Alicante's famous promenade. This wasn't just a storm passing through, it was a siege. As night fell, the storm showed no sign of mercy. Rain no longer fell. It attacked, driving sideways through the streets, carried by winds that screamed like a living creature. Dana Alice wasn't done yet. This was only the beginning. And when the sun finally rose again, Alicante would never look the same. In downtown Alicante, it started quietly, just dark clouds rolling in over the coast. But within minutes, everything changed. At the San Gabriel Industrial Zone, an aluminum factory was hit first. Water came rushing in so fast, workers barely had time to react. They scrambled to higher ground as metal doors burst open and heavy machinery floated away like toys. One man described it as a river made of steel and mud. Across the city, the flood showed no mercy. Side streets turned into raging canals. Parked cars bobbed like boats, spinning in circles before crashing into storefronts. Benches, trash bins, even chunks of pavement drifted down what used to be sidewalks. Down by the Esplanada de España, the city's famous seaside promenade, waves surged waist-high, swallowing the mosaic tiles that tourists once walked across. Palm trees bent under the wind's weight as their roots drowned beneath the rising tide. Emergency crews tried to fight back, but nature had other plans. Roads disappeared beneath the flood. Patrol cars stalled, ambulances rerouted again and again, and every radio channel filled with new distress calls. Trapped families, missing drivers, and electrical fires spreading through flooded buildings. Inside homes and small shops, people did whatever they could. They stacked furniture against doors, hoping to slow down the water. But in many places, the flood was stronger. It smashed through windows, poured down staircases, and filled basements in seconds. Families had no choice but to climb, up to the second floor, then to the rooftops just to survive. The rain didn't stop. It came down hard, hour after hour, drowning the city in a relentless downpour. By mid-afternoon, Alicante wasn't a city anymore. It was a lake, a vast, brown, swirling sea where streets, parks, and neighborhoods once stood. The place people called home had vanished beneath the storm. Spain was on high alert. For the first time in years, the entire Valencian region was placed under an emergency warning. a red alert that meant one thing: extreme danger to life. Across every radio station, the same urgent message echoed again and again: stay indoors, don't travel, stay away from rivers and low-lying areas. If you can, move to higher ground. But outside, chaos had already begun. Streets were turning into rivers. Police cars pushed through knee-deep water, their sirens flickering red against the storm. Firefighters waded through flooded intersections, pulling people from second-story windows. In some neighborhoods, boats replaced ambulances. Nearby towns like Denia, Javia, and Calpe were hit just as hard. Rivers spilled over their banks, cutting off major roads and trapping entire communities. Videos from the Marina Alta region showed cars floating past gas stations and bridges shaking under the relentless current. Rescue teams rushed to set up temporary shelters in schools and sports halls, trying to make space for the hundreds of people who had already lost everything. Inside the city's emergency center, officials stayed up all night, eyes locked on screens showing rainfall totals climbing by the minute. Over 7 inches had already fallen, and the forecast warned it wasn't over yet. The rain just wouldn't stop. When night fell, the storm didn't calm down, it got angrier. Rain hammered everything in sight, pounding roofs, walls, and streets with no sign of mercy. It wasn't just background noise anymore. It was like the city itself had a heartbeat that refused to stop. Lightning tore across the coastline, lighting up the city for just a second each time, just long enough to reveal more chaos. The power grid couldn't hold. One by one, the lights went out. Whole neighborhoods vanished into darkness, with only flashlights and the faint blue glow of phones breaking through the black. In the distance, sirens wailed through the storm, faint, broken, and eerie. Inside their homes, families stayed close, listening as water crept higher against their doors. Some climbed up to their attics and rooftops, watching helplessly as cars floated by, headlights still shining beneath the flood. In tall apartment buildings, people stared down from upper floors, realizing the streets below had completely disappeared beneath a river of rainwater. The wind howled through the city, gusts over 60 miles an hour, ripping signs from buildings and sending debris flying. Every few minutes, thunder cracked loud enough to shake windows, followed by another explosion of sparks from a blown transformer somewhere nearby. As the night dragged on, one question haunted everyone. If this is what one night looks like, what's waiting for us in the morning? When dawn finally arrived, the rain was gone, but what it left behind was worse. The city of Alicante stood silent under a gray, lifeless sky. The air was thick with the smell of salt, mud, and oil. Water still dripped from rooftops, and the only other sound was the distant hum of a few surviving generators. Floodwater covered entire blocks. Cars were stacked against walls, half buried in debris. Stores stood empty and broken, their windows coated in a muddy line showing just how high the water had risen. Alicante wasn't just flooded, it was forever changed. Children's toys floated in muddy puddles next to overturned chairs and twisted power lines. Along the coast, cleanup crews got to work. Firefighters cleared fallen branches from the roads. Volunteers handed out bottled water and food from the backs of pickup trucks. The Spanish Red Cross turned local schools into temporary shelters. Families huddled inside, some charging their phones from a single power strip, others just trying to get a little sleep. Even in the middle of exhaustion, people stood together. Strangers shared dry clothes. Parents held their children close, calming them every time thunder rolled in the distance. From above, Alicante looked battered. Waterlogged streets, broken highways, and farmlands smeared with mud. But even in the wreckage, there was hope. A woman swept water from her front door. A man pushed his car out of the mud, and a little kid laughed as the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds. The storm had stolen a lot: homes, cars, peace of mind, but not everything. As dawn settled over the city, Alicante took its first deep breath and began to heal. The rain may have stopped, but the story's not over yet. Because every storm leaves behind more than just wrecked streets and broken homes. It leaves behind questions. How does a city built on sunshine and sea breeze end up underwater in a single day? And what does that say about the world we're building? A world where storms hit harder, faster, and with less warning than ever before. For the people of Alicante, life will move forward. They'll rebuild one wall, one street, one memory at a time. But what happened here isn't just about Spain. It's a warning, echoing through every coastal city on Earth. These floods weren't just bad luck. They were a sign, a reminder that nature's changing quicker than we are. And that real resilience doesn't start after disaster strikes. It starts long before the clouds even gather. If the story hit home for you, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to see what's happening out there. And don't forget to subscribe, because awareness is the first step toward change. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think disasters like this are just nature doing its thing, or are they a result of how we've treated our planet? Are we ready for what's coming, or still pretending it won't reach us? Tell us what resilience means to you as a person, as a community, as a world. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because your voice, your stories, your awareness, that's how we make sure these moments aren't forgotten. Together, we can be the generation that learns before the next storm begins.